They played basketball on Wednesday after school, their regular game at their usual spots, the gym near the old packing house. Victim Lester, 17 at the time, was there, along with Salathium Antoine Streeter and Curtis Schuler, both 16 at the time. It was like any other week, Antonio Lawrence said, who was 16 at the time, who has known Schuler his whole life and calls him his best friend. It was like getting up, go to school every day. Nothing was different, but nothing would ever be the same either. For 4 days, Lester, Streeter, and Schuler bottled up a secret so horrifying it seems beyond the teenagers' capacity to keep it. On a Sunday night, just miles from their homes, armed with a .22 caliber rifle and a cheap revolver, they had shot and killed a man during a botched carjacking. And then for 4 days, they acted as if nothing ever happened. Officials said that the act ended Thursday night in the community's bloodiest crime spree in recent memory. 2 people dead, 7 wounded, and 3 young men charged with first-degree murder. It was the question being asked by everyone in this small town ringed by citrus growers and fruit packing houses. How do 3 teens, never before in serious trouble, make the leap to robbery and murder? And why? Everyone is so scared, said Venda Brooks, who was supervising a group of kids on Saturday at a car wash to raise money for the local Head Start program to send kids to camp. Among them was her son Myron, 17, an acquaintance of Lester's and a classmate at Haines City High School. The car wash was just blocks from the homes of Schuler and Lester, who lived 1 street apart on Avenue I and Avenue J and the Alphabet Streets section on the north side of Haines City, where many of the city's black residents lived in homes that ranged from shabby to middle class. Venda Brooks said, Victor Lester has been in my house plenty of times. He's a quiet boy, and I'd say a polite boy. I go to church, and when I do, he's there too. You ask how a boy like that gets mixed up in this, and I just don't know. Brooks went on to say, nobody here knows, and that's what scares them. They seem unlikely criminals. Victor Lester, the quiet boy who went to church. Salathium Streeter, the star athlete whom neighbors recalled often watching his dark Chevrolet Monte Carlo to the tune of rhythm and blues, and the same car allegedly used in the shooting spree. Even quick-tempered Curtis Schuler, who had more than his share of fights in school. When he was suspended from school for fighting, he asked to put in extra hours at the restaurant where he worked. But still, there were no signs of trouble. 2 years before the spree, Streeter's parents split up. He left the small Christian school he attended for Haines City High School and ended up in court when he fought with his bus driver. About 6 months later, Streeter became a father, but he did not marry the child's mother. And 2 weeks prior to the murder, Streeter lost his job as a dishwasher when he didn't show up for work. Schuler also had trouble at work and school. 6 months prior to the murder, he got a job at Sonny's Real Pit Barbecue in Haines City when an aunt who worked at the place put in a good word. Schuler did a good job and had moved up to cook. But his trouble at school, usually fights, often landed him on Saturday detention. Schuler's best friend, who worked with him at the time at Sonny's, said that Schuler did not pick the fights, but he sure didn't avoid them either. Somebody would say something to him or try to start something with him, and it was up from there, as the young folks would say. Mike Thomas, Schuler's supervisor at the time, kept warning him about being tardy at the job and told him he would have to let him go if he kept it up. On April 25th, Schuler was fired when he showed up to work an hour late. If he was mad, he didn't say so. I don't think he was happy about it, but he wasn't surprised. He just left. A day later at 9:15 p.m., Larry Tyler, 32 at the time, was shot to death at a Greenleaf resort in what investigators said was a botched carjacking. That Thursday at 10:08 p.m., near Davenport, a few miles north of Haines City, a woman was shot during a botched carjacking but survived. Less than an hour later, Christina Large, 20, was shot to death and a passenger in her car wounded in another carjacking attempt near Lake Hamilton, south of Haines City, Florida. Just 10 minutes later, 5 members of a Georgia family, including a 10-year-old girl, were shot in their motel room at John's Resort on US 27 in Haines City, where Streeter had worked as a dishwasher. Aside from their brutality, the crimes were noteworthy in 2 respects. First, rank incompetence. The motives were robbery and carjacking, but the robbers apparently failed to get away with a car or a single cent. Second, randomness. Investigators' understanding is that these were just random acts at random picking of victims. The time in jail for the 3 were no cakewalk. The racial undertones that had surrounded the shootings came to a head as the 3 Haines City High School students were being led into a courtroom in the Polk County Jail Annex. Several white prisoners threw urine on the black teens who were allowed to change clothes before appearing in court. The 3 were charged as juveniles, and every 20 years their case would come up for review. Curtis Schuler and Victor Lester were sentenced to life imprisonment for their role in the carjackings and murder. Salathium Streeter was said to be very unruly in the courtroom, and when Schuler and Lester tried to apologize, he said, quote, "Y'all know what we went there to do. I'm not apologizing for nothing." And in conclusion, Salathium Streeter received 320 years in prison, followed by 2 life sentences for his role in a few botched carjackings and 2 senseless murders.